All right, this is a Great Society Ministries video, but I'm also going to put it on Lamar Asmo because I'm shadow banned. So I don't. I've been told that people subscribe and click the bell, but they still don't get alerts. So on some videos, I can't respond to your comments, and YouTube will put a message that says something like, "Well, be respectful." So it is what it is. As I've stated in the past, I didn't do this for popularity's sake. This is for posterity. I don't see a good outcome for the current circumstances in the near future. As a matter of fact, with the maliciousness of the Israelis and their state religion, and the apathy and ignorance of the general population, there's no reason. And with the technology that's on the horizon, there's no reason that they can't actually win indefinitely. I mean, I hope that's not the case. I tend to be a long term optimist. I think no matter how long the night is, the sun has to come up eventually. And the scales will have to tip towards justice also eventually, just out of sheer impossibility of something remaining the same forever. That's the one, as the saying goes, the only constant in this universe is change. So eventually the bad guys will lose if that's the case. There's nothing that's 100% or that lasts forever within this universe, to my knowledge. Because I even actually saw some theory or hypothesis that even the strength of black holes dissipate over time. So if that's the case, you know, hope springs eternal. But let's get into why I'm doing this video. We talk about theological subject matter, great society, because we are theists. We're not atheists, but we're theists, and we believe in one God, and we believe in good over evil, with the knowledge that in this physical realm, this three-dimensional universe we inhabit, evil is seemingly omnipresent along with good, but in this world, seemingly evil tends to outweigh, unfortunately. But we don't let that stop us from being on the side of good and fighting for justice, being total justice warriors, not just social justice. Anyway, um, this is going to be some biblical criticism, and the book that I have on this, I have several books, but I'm currently reading everyone's favorite religious text. I'm actually reading a Jewish translation into English of the first five books of the Bible, because I've read the King James several times. And the conclusion that I got from reading that is that Yahweh uh, appears to be more demonic than godly, which is why when I refer to him, or Jehovah, whichever name you want to use, Adonai, it's a bad being. It's a racist, ignorant God who couldn't beat chariots of iron. It's supposed to be omnipotent, but couldn't smite the Amalekites because they had chariots of iron. Um, all right, so one of the popular highlights in this book is there's really no nice way to put it. The average Christian is intellectually lazy and embarrassingly ignorant. The vast majority have never read a single book on church history, textual criticism, theology, biology, psychology, biblical language, or other religions. Their beliefs are a nice little get out of hell free card that makes them feel good about death and suffering in this life, and they simply do not care to examine. They simply do not care to examine it at any great depth. They go to church to sing songs, hear an inspiring message, and talk to their friends about it. And that's about it. Couldn't agree more. Reverend Pork Chop also known as Rabbi Hagee down there in San Antonio, because of his efforts and people like him are the reason that the United States is in a religious war in Southwest Asia to help the Israelis totally subdue. Not try to give the Israelis a tactical advantage or to make sure they can't be overtaken by the neighboring countries. But because of Hagee and people like him, what our country actually does is fights Israel's wars for it and they ruin our reputation as a country for the sake of a country the size of New Jersey with racist colonists in it. We could have, and by we I mean the United States government via the voters, if we actually had legitimate people to vote for, we could have imposed a peace on the entire region, the Levant that is. We could have protected the racist colonists while at the same time giving the Palestinians a viable state, therefore solving the conflict or at least keeping a chilly peace like a Cold War scenario. We could still do that right now if there was the political will, but because of Reverend Pork Chop, the Reverend Mac Daddy Jackleg in the case of the black preachers, um, and these other creeps who, and even they don't read the Bible. Your Hagees, they cherry pick verses, take things out of context, read things into the text, meaning they add on to the Bible what's not in there. A good case in point of that, reading this book, when you read about Cain and Abel, and the assumption is that Cain was bad, and that and then also once he was expelled from his family, the remainder of his family, Adam and Eve, he was made to go east of the Garden of Eden, and he finds some wife out of nowhere. So the assumption is that God made people two separate times, and there's also an assumption that people make because of the two different accounts in the two parts of the beginning of Genesis. Another assumption people make is that all of Cain's descendants are the villains, but that's again that's reading stuff into the text that it doesn't say that explicitly. Where did this woman come from? How did once Adam and Eve had Seth? It doesn't mention their daughters, and that's reading things into the text. It's making assumptions that it doesn't explicitly state. So that's what they do to get to escape from a lot of the problems. And in my mind, God playing favorites with the sacrifices. So apparently, Demon Lord Yahweh, Abel's sacrifice was better because it spilled the blood of an animal instead of Cain working hard, scratching out a living, growing plants out of the earth and sacrificing that. To me, I mean, I know being a shepherd probably isn't easy, but being a farmer, especially in the beginning of history, without the advent of modern techniques or tools or what have you, I'm pretty sure growing food is probably more difficult. But I'm not a farmer, so anyway, I think some of these issues I've already covered in my previous reading of this text. Let's see what Blue lost my place. We already talked about how children aren't supposed to be punished for the sins of the father, but that's exactly what Yahweh does to Adam and Eve's progeny for the rest of history because of acts they committed. But we're not supposed to do that. Does Yahweh lie or deceive? Yahweh approved of the lying angel and sent him to Ahab. Yahweh's word is truth. So that's a contradiction. Yahweh actually will send delusions in order to deceive people. That's in Titus 1:2. Well, actually, no. Excuse me. Thessalonians 2:11 is Yahweh actively will send delusions in order to deceive people. Titus 1:2, Yahweh cannot lie. Um, did Asa take away high places of worship? I think we went over that. Those are contradicting verses. Kings says yes. First Kings 15:14 said Asa did take away high places. Second Chronicles 14:2 to 3 says Asa um, did take away the high places. So the first Kings says that he did not take away the high places, but as you can see, the other verses said he did. 2 Samuel 24:1, Yahweh tempted David to take a census. First Chronicles First Chronicles 21:1, Satan tempted David to take a census. The Hebrew word for tempt is the exact same word in both verses. Not only is there the obvious contradiction between Yahweh and Satan, there is also the absurdity of Yahweh inciting David to do something he later punished him for. So, and in my reckoning, as I said, when you read you read the Old Testament, Satan comes off looking better than Yahweh. Yahweh allows Satan to play with people's lives. In the case of Job, he allows Satan to unleash all sort of pain and suffering on this man just to prove something that he already knew, and that if he's omniscient, the devil should take his word for it. But he allows. So either he's in any case, he allows Satan to wreak havoc on this man for no good reason. Because obviously, if he's omniscient, he knows that, yeah, Job's going to stick with him no matter what. And if Satan is this malignant bad guy that we're led to believe, Satan would know that Yahweh is right. But wouldn't he want to inflict harm on this man and his family just for the fun of it? So what kind of God would allow that? But I guess this is a good place to conclude this video. We're approaching the 13th minute. So in honor of our friend, the greatest quarterback to ever lace him up, Dan Marino, we're going to conclude this video. And be on the lookout for more. Tomorrow is my day off. So I plan on doing a lot more Bible thumpers. And in addition to that, some regular videos about news and politics. So thanks for watching, and God willing, see you in the future video.